The views and opinions on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts, ownership, or management. And now, on with the show. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Craig L. Hayes Show. On episode 4 with Steve James and his wife, Janie. You haven't heard her speak a whole lot unless you heard her in the background telling Steve, nope, you did that wrong, and that's the wrong guy. Nope, it was this date, it was this guy you were doing sound with. But she was there with him on all this stuff. You know, that's amazing. They had quite the tag team effort there. You guys were quite the couple on everything. It's amazing. You guys went from high school, you guys...
Junior high.
Junior high on. Oh, my heavens. You ever get tired of him? A little bit. Okay, that's what it is. You don't want to have to train someone else. Well, us guys are pretty much untrainable on just about everything we do anyway. So, no, it's been awesome having you guys here. So we're on probably our last episode for this part of it. And what else did you have to talk about here? We talked about Liberace. I find Liberace fascinating. You know, we did the movie here, Behind the Candelabra, about his life. And we brought back the rolls. We brought back all the cars. We brought back his pianos. Everything was here on the stage when they shot the film. And we put the mirrored piano up on I think it was like a 12 or 14-foot riser.
Wow. Up
in the air. And I had to have the loading dock guys bring in their battery forklift, and lift it up. And I had guys in scissor lifts going up right alongside of it, making sure it didn't rock. You know, it's a $300,000, $400,000 piano because of everything it's done. And so everyone was a little nervous, but I was like, no problem, I'll got this. We'll get it up there. And we did, and no one panicked. Nothing got chipped, broken, nothing. It was pretty good. But anyways, that's my experience on some of the Liberace stuff you're talking about. I'm going, seen that, worked with that, been with that. Yep, got that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All these years later, 40 years later or whatever it was. So
did I mention, since we're on to something a little bit still with Lee's, did I mention the tuning of the piano?
No, you did not.
Well, I got to know his piano tuner because he had to come in before the first show, and then he came in between shows to retune the piano to bring it back up. One time he came up to me, he set the piano up and we had dinner music, so I came up to me and he said, I got to tell you, I had issues with the mirrored piano. And I said, really? I said, what? He says, I just couldn't get it in tune correctly, so it may sound a little bit different. And I went, okay, as long as it sounds like a piano, that's probably all I really cared about. But anyway, we started the show and got into that section where he comes out in with the mirrored piano. Was it? Were they Baldwins? I think
Baldwins. Yes, they were Baldwins.
Because he did commercials for them.
Yep.
Anyway, he started playing, and I'm sitting there listening to him a little bit, and his motions were a little different. But I tell you, the piano for me sounded wonderful. And what the tuner said was I had to go a little sharp on it because I just couldn't get it to come in. And I went, okay. Music sounded the same, but like I said, for some reason, sounding sharp, the piano just like jumped out, and you have to be kind of into that kind of stuff and really listen to it. Mm-hmm. Most people, they listen to the piano, they all sound the same, but different manufacturers.
They sound completely different.
Yeah. So at any rate, after the show was over, the guy came back out, and he says, "I need the stage to retune again." I went, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, Lee hated it. He said he looked at me and he said, "Don't ever let that happen again." And I went, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." So
he had a good ear.
Oh yeah, and
phenomenal
he could tell.
ear.
It's like when have you already been through the broken string thing?
Yes.
Where you see it? Yeah. I mean, he was that's his life per se, and he really took it seriously. So, and like I said, he was just an overall good guy. You know, giving money to Aaron and everything. Did we get money from? That was Lou, but I thought he did something. No, he just wanted to know if I did something. Right. He made the statement. So at any rate, the last thing we'll talk about, and this is I have it all written down here, so I'm going to try to get this thing. I'm going to set it up this way. Andy Williams started playing here, and one of the first times he came in, we had Doc Severinsen. He opened, and Andy had his own band cart. It was a massive thing, and the funny part about it was, I saw it when it came in. I said, I know this band cart. When I first got into the Union, I did a show change over at Caesar's Palace where he opened. And they had this thing sitting there, and it was already done, but it was already set up and everything. And you know how shallow the Caesar's showroom was.
Yeah, it was a small stage, and
oh yeah,
everything there.
Yeah. One quick side thing, I ended up paging for Tom Jones one night, real quickly, and I was actually I could really handle mic cable real well. There was a piece that came down over the band where he would walk down, get on stage. And I had to work with the fly crew because it took a bunch of us to preset this stuff, and then I had to go over and page him. And I could handle paging, and I could take a coil and just flip it and drop it right at his feet. I did that one night, and he was kind of looking down, saw this coil rolling towards him, just a single loop, and it dropped right at his feet. And he looked over at me, and he just kind of smiled and did one of these things, you know?
Like, good one, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was good at a lot of things, but paging cable, it was not too bad. So at any rate, I'd seen the Andy Williams band cart, and the way they made this thing, there was a bottom piece that was maybe 12 inches high all the way around, and it had all the lighting stuff in the bottom, and that was the base of it. It had its own rollers. And then out of it, there were risers for each section of the band. The risers were probably made out of 3-inch, 4-inch steel.
Okay.
And they would come out of this thing and go at different heights. So you could see underneath it all the way back. So every band area had its own level. I mean, it didn't massively change because the majority of it was the first 4 feet or so. The rest of it, they were all had a piano on it, strings, a whole ball of wax. Well, this thing had to be pushed down stage, and it didn't go very far at Caesar's. The only issue we had was that, and it was okay. I mean, I only worked the show change once and saw it, and I went, this thing is massive. As a matter of fact, what they did is the steel material for the legs was covered in Mylar tape. I guess it was tape. And we had to be careful because if the edges came up, it was like a knife.
Yeah.
It'd cut you. So we had to be real careful with this thing. Well, a few years later, I end up working Andy Williams at the Hilton here, and we had that thing. Doc started off, and what we ended up having, since Andy had his own band cart, his band cart had to set on the existing one.
Okay.
So it would roll because it started, when Andy came out, he was in the middle of the stage, and the band would just start rolling down stage. And the thing is, it would spin a bunch of times, and there had to be like 5 or 6 stagehands pushing it down stage to get it down stage during the show.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Doc Severinsen opened for him. And what they did is they had the regular risers for the Hilton there. And what they did is they had, and I can't remember what, they had casters that you could put thing and pull it and it would drop the casters down.
Yeah.
It was the only way to get this, because what happened is Doc would do his stuff. The band had to be struck. And in between that and Andy was a comedian that only did about 15 minutes, if that. So what I had to do was, we didn't have the mic lines to do this. I had to think out of the box, so to speak. So what I ended up doing is, we ended up, the stage box, which is probably long since gone, was a huge thing and had, probably 50 or 60, had 227 pairs in it, so it was 54 lines. But the cable was attached into this box. It was a regular wall type. And all the XLRs were there. I had to go and get, from A1 Audio, at least 3, probably 16 pair cables, and they came out to a fan out. The fan out XLRs went into my stage box. The multi-pin went into another multi-pin that fed onto the stage in each location. So you can see what I had. When that thing ended, and Nathan could probably tell you, he's the one that had to do it, and they were old style military FK or SKs. So it was real thin threads or close threads. And you'd do a little bit and then you'd have to work it. You do a little bit and you have to work it. And there was 3 of them. And then what they had to do is they had to take the snake system and drag it all the way around. And I had the same SKs on Andy's band cart coming down. So they're sitting there plugging all this stuff together. I'm out front I'm sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Because it
It's
just
everything getting made. Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, yeah. And the interesting thing about it is, like I told Nathan, I said, the only thing that matters, I need to hear the piano first. All the rest of it, you can have them, and I cue it up. And the reason why is because Andy started behind me. So and he took his vocal cue off of the piano because the piano would go bling like that. So he just snuck in and did that. We were successful every single time. And we had an intercom and Nathan did a great job doing it too. And like I said, it was just, we had to think out of the box on this whole deal. We had to have duplicate microphones, and if Al Siniscal just went out of his way to help. The additional cables that we need, multi-pairs. But you know what? I'm the one who thought of it. Because and it was like, and the bottom line was, I think even Nathan came up and he says, Steve, he says, I don't think this would have worked any other way. He says, no, can you imagine trying to unplug individual mic cables? So my last discussion here is really kind of something that happened here at the hotel. And Andy was back, and his opening act was Julia Prowse.
Okay.
She opened for him, and one of the opening had 3 round risers that were probably 4 or 5 feet in diameter, and then they had a stairway that went around them. So if they're 6 feet high, you walked up, and when the curtain opened for the start of it, Juliet was in the middle and the other 2 dancers were on either side. So once they finished the opening, they had to come down. And then that's when all the dancing happened. Prior to all that, I had, I don't really remember if she worked for Juliet. She had to work for Juliet, I think. I had Juliet's LD sitting in the booth with me. She was calling cues as well. So just before the show started, Dick Lane came down. And I turned around, he was there, and he says, I'm going to need a microphone to make an announcement. And I went, okay. He said, well, there's an issue, so we'll take care of it. But at any rate, I said, stage left, see Nathan. You know, we didn't have a lot of things going on then because Juliet didn't need her. She could use the band that was up on Andy's band platform, and they were playing in the back anyway, so it didn't matter. So we didn't have to have another one. But when she was, so I thought, well, an issue? Okay. About maybe a minute later, just before we started, Andy's road manager came up to the booth, and he says, did you know there's a problem here in the hotel? And I went, no. Then I said, he said, well, we got a fire in the hotel. And I went, okay. Well, tell you what, we know about it and everything. Go back and get Andy, take him out the back door, and get him out of here for now. Okay? So, and that's when Juliet's LD just freaked out. She said, what are we going to do? We're in the, we started the show off. And I went, look, I said, see that stage? I said, that's the safest place in the house, in the hotel.
Yeah.
Because of the deluge curtain. And on a side note, I know that very well because it went off twice. Mm. Did you hear about that?
No, I
We'll
never
talk
heard
about that in a second.
Yeah.
It did. Once before I got here, and then once while they were changing over to Moulin Rouge. But at any rate, I said, go get Andy and take care of it. And she said, what are we going to do? I said, well, if something happens, you're going to stand on your chair, you're going to stand on the console, and we're going to go towards that stage because that's the safest place in this building because of the deluge curtain. And
three steps you're out the back door too.
Yeah.
So it's
so at any rate, they finished their opening vocal, and we're about to go into the dancing, and the girls circled around. All of them. They on the platforms. They just stepped down and got on the floor. By the time they got on the floor, Dick Lane was already walking out on stage. And she said, I guess we have to stop. And he said, well, I forget what he said. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I said, what we need is, we need just everybody's attention. They brought the lights up in the house. What we want everybody to do is just get up from your seat and please go ahead and leave the showroom for a little bit. No panic. Everybody just got up. When they opened the doors, the casino was empty. They had done that first.
Yeah.
So after that was all over, we got everybody out. I went backstage, and we all went back on the loading dock, and we're out there looking, and it was like, yeah, here's the flames going up the side of the building. And, of course, we went, oh, cool.
Just 3 or 4 months after MGM went up. And
Yeah, actually, it might have been even sooner than that.
It was November, and then I think, was it January or February that the fire happened?
Well, it was February. I wrote it down. It's February 10th, 1981.
So
I think it was a shorter period of time. I think it was only 6 months, if that.
Well, it was November was the fire at MGM, and then so 3 months later the fire here.
90 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we were sitting there watching it, and the next thing you know, security comes up and it said, we want you guys back in the hotel. And I thought, why? At any rate, doesn't really matter. We all walked in, went into Loopy's office, and here's Dick, and he's got a glass of booze and whatever. So we just sat and hung out for a while, and Terry was there too. And I called Janie, and I said, by the way, I'm going to be coming home or something like that. She said, we have an issue, and she said, she was watching TV. So she saw the fire going on. So that was probably the biggest thing. And we were dark for a few days, but other than that was it. But that was the panicking that happened. Juliet actually was pretty good people too. I think I probably might remember some of this stuff, but anyway. I think we pretty well covered.
Good. I watched that fire because I lived on the other side of the golf course,
Ah,
So I was pulling into the house that night, pulling in the car, and I'm looking up the street because right up the street, literally right up our street, is the East Tower of the Hilton back then. And I was like, well, don't that beat all? Here I am working at the MGM in the scenic shop building Jubilee, and we had just gone back to work, a month or two before that to redo everything in the show because it all got smoke damaged and it was a massive amount of work there. And I see the Hilton. I was like, well, don't that beat all? And so we all walked out there. Everyone was on our street, walked out there on the street going, oh, my heavens. Yeah.
well, it was.
Yeah.
It could have been. Well, one of the things that happened was when they started letting people out the back, out the showroom. They had opened the roll-ups, and I still had the microphones kind of halfway up on the band, and I started hearing talking, and then I finally kill it. But one of them guys says, "You smell that? You smell like smoke?" So we killed it, and like I said, I don't think I was really here for that long after it was over because they told us to get out.
Yeah. Only time I had anything like that was when we were doing Starlight Express. They had a bomb threat, and it was in the casino, and everybody in the showroom went through the back of the showroom. They took them through the convention area, through the back hallways. Just walked everybody out of the place, and I'm standing around in there, and I'm like, this might be interesting. So I walked out into the casino from the front door, look around, and it was like very eerie when a casino is completely empty, nobody around. It's the weirdest, eeriest feeling, And I was like, well, I don't think I'll probably ever see this one again. But back in the younger days,
Oh yeah.
30 years or 32, whatever I was at that point, I said, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you could be in the middle of something blowing up, idiot,
True. Well, there was only one other thing I wanted to mention because I always like to take credit for it.
Okay.
I did a lot of routing around while I was here, just looking at different things and all the multi-pairs and everything. And I keep mentioning the fact that once you're at the sound console, you walk up onto the steps and go out. Well, on either side of them, and I may have mentioned it to you before, there used to be a couple of pillars on the steps that went on either side, on the steps that would go up.
I remember them.
Yeah, I'm the one that took them out. And it's funny because what happened was I got into the attic above it that is between the seating and the ceiling and the seating and the top. There's
The
actually
balcony, there's a huge area under there.
yeah. If you walk down towards the center of the room there, I don't know if they've taken them out. I didn't take them out. But originally, when they built the hotel, the sound console was on the upper deck somewhere. I look at some of these Elvis things. I don't know where it was. It wasn't in the light booth. But when I got there, the console was downstairs. The lighting console was on the top of the balcony in the front, and the sound. But at any rate, what they did to bring the sound console down and put it on the floor is that they took the J-box that's up there, huge thing, and it had 6 27-pair lines in it. Well, what they did is they added columns on either side, and they ran the cable through it, cut the concrete, and then reestablished them where the console is. So what I did was, at the end of the very last biggest thing I did was all of the mic lines that existed were always stage left behind the amp racks. And I doubt those racks are not there anymore, are they?
No, amp racks are now up by the speakers, yeah.
Right.
Up in the,
And that's what happened when they came in to put the new system that Ripka had. At any rate, I had a small little office back there. I slept back there a couple times during TV shows, when I had to sleep before they called me up. But all of the lines came on that back wall. So it was just a matter of, I told I forget who I told, might have been Loopy, but I said, I'm losing lines all over the place, and I know why, because of all that, the oxidization and everything happening, and they were put on all with screws, clamps.
Yeah.
And so Dick said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to have the construction company that was part of the hotel come in and bring a saw and cut the concrete out from stage left in front of the front up side of the stage, and bring it around and bring the trench to me at the sound console. And what I'll do is we'll pull brand new lines in and attach them from there. And we had a wood panel that we put punch blocks in. That's how we did everything back then. It was a lot better than trying to put crimp on.
There's punch blocks all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Only way to fly. Unless you're, the thing is nowadays you could do a one fiber optic.
Yep.
But what happened was, and the maitre d's and the captains were all over me for a week with this. And they said, what the hell are you doing with this? Blah, blah, blah. You're killing us, because we still had shows going on.
Yeah.
And so finally we got it all done. We got it punched in. And then I told the construction guys, I said, you can take these things out. And we were off, I think, for a while. When I came, for a day or so, when I came back in, they were gone. They had repaired the ceiling, and they had repaired the floor, and they had fixed the cut in the concrete and added carpet back in for that. I tell you, the maitre d', Howie Weiner, who was back there, and all of the captains, what did you do? Well, you kept ragging on me about the fact that this is always, because they hated to put people behind them because they were sitting there looking at a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So I made their day, and that was probably my claim to fame in the showroom, was getting that fixed. Plus, it fixed the audio a lot. And the guy that was working with me, once we got it all done, the system really did sound cleaner. But I think that might have been because the old lines went from stage left up overhead, down into the high booth, from there down into the floor, and then down to me. And like I said,
a lot of extra distance on that, not needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to look at things like that creatively sometimes and saying, well, there was no way around it, per se. There was, you're not going to pull all the existing lines out and replace them. That would have been crazy. So whatever, and the thing is, the construction company was in-house anyway. So I don't think they may have charged the hotel for that, but, I got compliments from Dick and from Terry Little by saying, well, it sounds great now. I said, that's what happens when you got good, clean lines.
Yeah.
So, other than that, that is my life here.
Steve and Janie's story.
Hey, it's quite the story, too.
Yeah.
I tell you the truth, I'm amazed sometimes when I think of how much stuff that I did here for 2 or 3 years. I don't count my convention area time, because I was mostly maintenance over there anyway. But, this for me was kind of the high, because we did so much good work. We did.
This has been an amazing place. I wouldn't have stuck around 30 years had it not been amazing, be able to do it. And, and actually I did 1 year, I was the head audio here, so. And the head carpenter all at the same time.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you get 2 checks?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But, I'm probably one of the very few head carpenters that is a head audio guy, do either job. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Rig this, fly this, build this, or do you want me to go run sound? It was really funny. It had been about 20 years since I'd ever touched a console. When I left the Riviera, that was it. I was out of there. And then they brought in a show as Purple Rain, the Prince tribute show, and they
kind of remember that, man.
Yeah, it was fun. It's a fun show. It's all Prince. It's great stuff, and they brought it in here, and we didn't have a head audio per se, designated head audio at that time, and I'm like, I'll do it. You know, because I wasn't thinking I was going to stay here for a few weeks or something like that until we found someone to do it. And nope, Jason wouldn't let me do it. Let anyone else do it. It was like, nope, him. So
By the way, I just have one other quick thing.
yeah,
Have you ever, during your tenure here, had the deluge system go off
No.
on the stage?
nope.
I had.
I don't think it's in operation.
Oh, they've taken it out?
Well, we don't have we are a theater, so we don't have to have all that. It's considered, if it's a showroom, you have to have the fire curtain, the deluge, you have to have all that stuff built into the thing. Now that when Starlight came in, it got redesignated as a theater, and they've never changed it back, even though it says showroom on the front entrance. It's kind of funny, but when they list the place on, you know, for anything, they're calling it it's Jeff Rettinger.
Oh. Well, it went off here twice. Once before I got here, and once during my tenure. See here?
You want to tell Jeff we'll meet him at the front door in a few minutes?
It went off for some reason, and we don't know why. Anka was playing, and the place was empty. The thing went off, and it rained for hours. And Artie's console, stage left for his monitors, had 4 inches worth of water in it. So they're not, and the thing is, at that particular time, nobody knew.
What was that?
Front of the stage, so he's here.
Oh, he said,
Oh.
he's downstage, right? Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then what happened was they were putting Moulin Rouge in, and I was working a little bit, helping them do it. And actually it was Jeff. He probably would remember. He was up in the grid, and something happened, and it wasn't him, but we heard this clank. And I think I heard him say, "Oh, shit," and it started to rain again. It was the deluge. That's why when we were during the fire and I was talking to Andy's LD, I said the safest place is on that stage.
Yeah.
But they managed to turn it off because everybody now knew where the off button was for the deluge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not been operational since, like I say, Starlight. But
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I think that since they came up with other, like Halon or whatever they want to do, water is just really a disaster after a while.
yes. I
And
mean,
it's like-
we still have sprinkler systems up above the grid and all over the room
They've
because
been-
they had to put that stuff in because of, you know, the fires in these places. Everything had to be sprinkled and stuff like that. But yeah, there was a part that they had a halon somewhere in the place, and I can't remember where it was.
They were talking about putting Halon in the convention sound room with all the amplifiers and everything like that.
That's probably what I'm thinking. It had to do something where there were electronics and the amps and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because you know, I don't care. You turn that on for just a minute, you've wiped out all your amps. You got to toss them. They're done.
Yeah.
You can't blow them out. You can't clean them. It just
Well, and the copper over time, if it gets wet, will actually corrode.
Yeah.
Small amount, and all of your connections just go to hell.
yeah. So
Um,
and how easy is it to change out? What do we got here? You know, between monitors, 100 and something amplifiers up there.
Mm-hmm.
Between the house system and the monitor system. Yeah, put in an order over to someplace. Say, yeah, we need 100 Crown amplifier, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can get to that eventually. You know, so but you're down. So.
Yeah. Very true.
Well, this has been awesome.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad everything lined up when we got you in here because I really wanted to have you, and I wanted to have Jeff's coming in here in a few minutes. I want to have some of the guys that were here back in the '70s, and you know, were here when Elvis and Liberace and all these other guys were here. You know, just to talk about this place. You know, this place is special to me. It's very special. Obviously, it stuck around a long time. Actually, I couldn't find any real work anywhere else, so stuck here and kept the job. And
Somebody got the word out, right?
no, but I have to agree with you on a couple things like production shows. You know, I thought about it and I went, you know, I did Splash for 7 years, you know,
At the Riv?
at the Riv.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, stick to that show. And I came over and I did Starlight Express for another 3. Same show, never changed. It was nothing changed anywhere in that show. But the good part was on Friday night, we had what we called Friday Night Live. We'd bring in, rock and roll shows. We brought in Lou Rawls. We brought in all these different shows just to have a live show once a week in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was our day off. So we came in on our days off and worked a 7th day on show, and we're here all day. And the money just flowed here.